Hello everyone. Namaste. This is Chetan here. I'm delighted to be participating in this webinar being conducted by Government First Grade College for Women, Balmata. First of all, I would like to thank the principal and all the other organizing members of this particular international webinar being conducted. The topic of the day is preparedness and the challenges of online training for college teachers, post-COVID era. Now, who knows? It could be with COVID era, right? I mean, you never know whether COVID is going to end by 6 months, 12 months, 15 months, or year. 2 years. You never know. So I think we need to be prepared for a long haul, I guess. So I would say post-COVID or with COVID era. So I think, let's say, when we are talking about COVID, I think this is an event which is unprecedented, at least in our lifetime. I don't think we would have ever seen any this kind of a situation earlier. Maybe some of us might have gone through some personal tragedies and things like that, but otherwise, I think an event of this nature, wherein the entire world is suffering from one particular event, is this is the first time, I guess, at least in our lifetime. So I think it has also there are a lot of you hear a lot of think about COVID these days, mostly negative things about COVID, but what it has also brought to fore is some of the good habits in humans, right? I think hygiene is one of the factor which has brought to fore social distancing. Now, what has done social distancing? It has made you stronger, right? It has taught you to be living independently with having social distancing, and it has also taught us to be together with family, right? Imagine when was the first time in the last couple of years you might have had dinner together with your parents, your kids, you know, or grandchildren, right? I think it's been long time, and then this entire lockdown, of the because of the COVID has given you a lot of opportunities of that nature. So basically, with COVID, we have a lot of opportunities, a lot of innovations, and along with that one, I think there's a lot of challenges as well. So I think the entire world, you take any kind of industries, any sector you take, it has been impacted, be it hospitality, be it real estate, or any manufacturing, any industries you take, it's been impacted by COVID. So I think everyone, uh, in one way or the other, is trying to um, accommodate changes, because of this. And education being one of the major building block or major pillar in terms of shaping the society or shaping the future of an individual in the society. I think even education sector has to implement, incorporate, or go along with the changes which is happening in other sectors, right? So I would say, one of the change which we need to kind of implement in terms of the education sector is to slowly move from a classroom session to an online session. Um, so there are several advantages of having that ones. One of the major advantage is flexibility in terms of time. So we are not only talking about a full-time college course, right? There are people who are trying to learn things after their work. I mean, they're doing work and college together. So this will give them flexibility in terms of attending the colleges, right? Attending the classes. They can do their classes after their work hours and things like that. So that gives you flexibility. Second, it gives you flexibility in terms of working from the comfort of your home, or learning from the comfort of your home, right? And because these sessions are online, you will have online session is not just giving lectures online. It's also preparing some good materials online so that you can refer to that one at a later point in time. So those materials are already there. Tech savvy people can also record a session which is happening right away, and that way they can refer to that particular session which is happening at a later point in time. And it is also cost effective to a certain extent, I think, because at least people in big cities like Bangalore or Delhi, Mumbai, etc. I think they spend a lot of time in terms of commute, right? And especially if your college is quite far from the place you're living, the commute itself is like a couple of hours for some people. So I think those are valuable times which you can use for other purpose rather than doing a commute, being in traffic, etc. Right? So there are some of these advantages are there when you are moving from a classroom session to online session. But at the same time, there's also challenges in online training sessions, right? It's not just the benefits. Of course, any change has both type of things, right? One is challenges, and then other is benefits. So I think, in my opinion, some of the challenges which an online session. So challenges, if I can broadly segregate these challenges in multiple buckets, it would be one, I guess, technical. Second one would be people, and the third one would be all other supporting elements, right? I mean, admin elements and documentation, etc. So technical, yes. I mean, there will be challenges in terms of instructors having access to the right kind of technologies, right kind of hardwares and softwares. Then there are issues like internet speed or network issues and things like that. There are also issues, I mean, not really issues, but there are also things like accessibility to your mobile phones or TVs and smartphones, etc. Right? I mean, not everyone. I know most of people these days have accessibility, but I think we should be realistic. I don't think everyone would have accessibility to new technologies or smartphones, TVs, etc. To really do or accept online classes. So, and also power, right? I mean, especially rainy seasons, you have a lot of power fluctuations and things like that. Believe me, these challenges are not specific to education sector. I'm coming from an IT sector, and then we see this kind of issues as well when we have, especially these days, having virtual sessions with customers and people from different geographies together, having sessions, we encounter these kind of issues as well. So it's common everywhere. I mean, you would think that IT, being one of the early adapters of all these changes in terms of being online, they are far ahead. No, there are still challenges. So yeah, we are still working out to resolve those things. So that's kind of on the technology side. I think on the people side, it's basically one, um, like people who are delivering online lectures, understanding of the technologies, new technologies, how confident they are in taking it forward or using those technologies to give lectures. So that's important. um, Expectations from both um, trainers as well as students who are taking the training sessions, right? So there could be a different set of expectations when it comes to online training sessions. And you know the and then how do you track progress of an individual? how do you how do you give sessions? How do you take care of your best performers, average performers, below average performers? So in the classroom it may be easier that you know exactly who is the best performer, who is the average performer, etc. So you can concentrate on those people, when you are in a classroom session. But online session, it might be a little difficult. So I think that's also important as to how you communicate, interact with those set of people, those set of groups, etc. And also, you will not have any kind of face-to-face interaction, so that there's a little bit of limitation in terms of face-to-face interaction. So um, in a video conferencing, you see what you see. You won't exactly understand that particular student. So those kind of gaps are there in terms of people. And then the third bucket which I can think of is the kind of the other bucket wherein you the course content, right? So you need to be extra prepared with your course content. um, Not just giving lectures, you also have to prepare some content so that you can deliver those content through an email, having it available on cloud, right? So that's important. How do you monitor the progress of a particular student? How you give feedback sessions to the students, and how do you give a personal touch to the student? How you keep the users engaged with the conversation during online session? All these are important factors. So these are some of the challenges which I can think of in terms of doing a online training session. Now again, these are exactly similar challenges which we also face in IT industry as well. So it's not new. It's very common across wherever we are trying to implement these kind of changes. And when it comes to being prepared or preparation from your side, I think there are a few points to consider. I don't think it will be too different from what you are doing currently in terms of preparation for a classroom session, but maybe there are a few differences. So, one, I think planning is very important. You plan for your specific session as to what exactly you want to cover in that particular session. Maybe you communicate in advance as to what you're going to cover as part of the session. You kind of set your expectations right with the students. and that's important in not just lecturing, for any other things as well, right? So when you're properly planning the session, you're setting the expectation, and you might have your students coming up with their expectation, their questions, when you communicate in advance. So I think that is important in terms of how you deliver your session to plan. Second thing is, now that you are not delivering through a classroom session, it is important to understand, know about the technology which you are trying to use, so that you don't have any glitches while taking a session. So it is important you understand the softwares which you are using for the online sessions. So that's the second thing in terms of technology. What I would also think is, the working environment is important, because classroom is a classroom, and an online session you're taking from the comfort of your home or any specific location. So it is important that you don't have any kind of distractions. Like if you're taking a session from your home, and you don't have a TV in front of you distracting you, somebody coming and switching on your TV, etc., right? So those kind of distractions you need to avoid. Maybe set up a location as your work environment always, and you don't change that one. That gives a professional look, that gives a look that your students can appreciate, right? So that's also important. um, Other things, I would say it is similar to a classroom session. You basically kind of innovate and stimulate discussions. Kind of suddenly have a group discussion, or have some surprise, what we call it as extempore session, right? And have some fun activities. Why not, right? um, it's not required to be always just the topic which needs to be talked in a session. You can have some fun activities as well once in a while. I mean, not always, but once in a while, so that you can keep your students engaged, interactive, and things like that. So I think that is also important. um, Communication, communicate regularly. So you basically communicate with the students and tell them when you are available for any kind of queries, clarifications. You set up those times, right? I mean, you can't expect people to call you at 10 o'clock in the night for asking um, you know some questions at that time. So you tell what are the timings when you are available, um, and if you're taking off or something like that, then they don't disturb during that time. So those kind of communications is very important. As much as possible, do personal communications as well, if you think that will give a personal touch to the complete session which you're taking. So that's also one of the factor which you can consider. Of course, motivate your students. Let's say uh, people who are participating in an online discussion, or more being engaged more with you during these online sessions, give some additional marks for them, right? That's a kind of encouragement, and then student might be interested in participating more and more. What I also think is, because you are not seeing the person, you are not seeing somebody in person, it's through a video or through a call. They might be Student might be more free in terms of asking questions, so they might be more open in terms of asking questions. So I think it is important that you give that personal touch, so that they engage with you in your online sessions. So that's important. um, lastly, I think I think it is also important that you take feedbacks. Um, so it's not just giving feedback to the student; it's also what we call it as 360-degree feedback, which is nothing but you taking feedback from the students, say on what is your teaching style, are you covering everything, is there something which is lacking in terms of you are covering, and things like that. So it's give and take. You give feedback to the students, of course it is your job, and you also take feedback from students, so that's also important. Okay, so in conclusion, I think having a right kind of attitude, a little bit of more preparation, having confidence in taking a session, and I think that will make the cut. And I know you all are doing a wonderful job in shaping the future of a lot of students, and I think it will not be a big deal. It will not be a rocket science for you to do it online as well. So I think all the best. Uh, Keep doing what you're doing currently, and being wonderful. Thank you so much for this opportunity, and I wish you all the very best for this webinar and for the future. Thank you so much.